that whole scenario with apparently if you speak the devil, he will appear. That's kind of odd, don't you think?
Mm-hmm.
Literally fucking took out your internet, but you're back now, and that's the most important thing. You can't keep a good Christian down.
Indeed.
Yeah. And, I just find it interesting. It's kind of ominous. It's like lightning striking my freaking internet and taking my internet out. That'd be hilarious. But we're gonna push with fear because this is the second part of the Digital Renegade podcast. For those of you who want to know, we were talking about Christian. I will put a part two in the link in the description for those who want to follow along because apparently, just invoking the motherfucker apparently has magical properties. So this is from a terminally online thread. Go follow them. So go subscribe to them. Some of the stuff that they have is pretty good, honestly. But we're gonna finish it up. This is gonna be a short live stream. It's part two of the other one. I will link that in the description below. If you want to follow the first part of it, but we're gonna get back to it. Luke, let's start.
I don't know how he
I don't know
managed
how
that.
he managed that.
Well, to be fair, the problem is the only witness to the crime is Barb, who has dementia, and Chris
Yeah.
Chan, who is absolutely not there in the head. Let's
Yeah,
just
so
let's,
let's-
let's just put that
Let's be
out there.
kind about it.
Like, he's not all there.
Um,
But I was reading this, and you know what? I haven't seen anyone talk about it online before, or like maybe someone has.
You were trying to explain it to me yesterday, and I was like, James, take your mouth.
Honestly, like so I've been reading a lot about occultism and stuff, and we've been doing a lot of occultism stuff on Gumroad and such. So like, if you haven't checked that out, you should definitely go ahead. So look, let's just jump into this thread and see what they have to say about Chris, will we?
Does anyone else find it strange how the whole mainstream media apparatus did stories on Chris Chan after he took advantage of Barb? What other lolcow had Tucker Carlson do a story on them? I can't get the link right now, but just look up Chris Chan possessed by demons, and you'll find a plethora of videos on the topic with fairly good arguments for it. The gist of it basically being Sonic 2 or Magic Chan is a demon that feeds off of the attention Chris gets, and has been doing this for decades.
Well, Chris was possessed by Magic Chan for a while, and I think he's currently possessed by Sonic 2. I'm not sure. No, actually, I don't know.
So for those you need to know, like, I wouldn't be surprised if he actually was possessed. Like, there's only been a few times in my life where I've actually encountered a person who actually was possessed. Or not even possessed, I would say, but like you would think that just by looking at them they were possessed, right?
Mm-hmm.
One of those persons, I admittedly was in a boarding school, and I can remember he was twitching at the eyes, and he shat in he defecated on the ground, picked it up with his hand, and then chased people with it. That's fucking crazy shit. To the point where even the crazies were saying, let's band together against this guy. He's fucking psycho. But the MO does fit. I mean, let's be frank with ourselves. When Christ encountered Legion, right? The man who was basically attacking people and was possessed by all those evil, unclean spirits. Well, Christianity is about as unclean as you can be. Like, he literally cut a fucking hole in his gooch to say he had a vagina. And it was like a gaping hole for the longest time. It was like gangrenous and a whole bunch of other shit. He's a hoarder, among other things. But we've heard arguments of Christian being a Platonist and idealist. Well, in reality, he might actually just be a fucking magician. And it kind of makes sense in a lot of ways. I mean, more people know about this guy than... I mean, he's the most documented person in the planet Earth. He really is. Like, people know more about Christian than they do about any other historical figure. So let's continue.
I'm not sure.
Some people are saying he's developed dissociative identity disorder.
I mean, Chris does have a very fragile mental state.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he does. That would explain the whole
Nerves.
persona takeovers.
I think it also is a preserve. I hate to sound too like Freudian, but is it to protect the ego? Does that make sense with Chris? Because he's like.
I don't think Chris has an ego.
No, but he's been humiliated that many times online.
That's why I don't think he has.
No, he has an ego.
No, but
He has an ego. If you want, although I will say this, the ego is not very strong in this one, or has missed priorities. It's like a ego of a child. Because if he had no ego, like, he would have like maggots and shit crawling out of his like wounds, and he wouldn't care because there is no him, right? If you actually had no ego, you literally could beat him. You can trample over him. You could have rats basically go up to him and bite him, and he wouldn't care because it's not his body. He has no ego. So while I will say ego gets the bad rap in, let's say, ideology and criticism of psychology, it does have a purpose. So the idea of having a healthy ego is very important, but who gets to decide that? Seriously shouldn't be Freud. If Freud wanted to fuck his daughter or something along those lines.
Mother.
Well, we're talking about Christian. Are you talking about Christian, or are we talking about Freud? Or
Didn't Freud come up with the Oedipus complex?
It all comes back. It all comes
Wanting to
back.
kill his father and marry his mother.
Isn't that what Christian did?
I don't know if he killed his father.
Well, let's just say the insufferable twat that he was enough to kill his fucking racist father. And his father was a racist. I mean, he did call out that German girl, right? That poor little German girl. I don't know. Let's keep going.
Is he being possessed to overcome this, to go around it? Look, let's jump into this. All I'm saying is the medallion's cursed, and it's now going to
But yeah, the medallion is fucking cursed anyway.
Did you hear? Apparently, he tried to make a medallion in prison, so he did.
What?
Yeah.
How did people know about this?
Because he sent letters and stuff when
Why,
he
yes,
was
people
in.
were in contact with him.
Yeah, there was still a lot of people in contact with him even when he was in jail, but
Right,
few and far
so-
between.
It's always seemed likely to me. There's this difference between how Chris Chan is portrayed, i.e. as a mentally challenged autist who barely gets by, and what I actually see, which is a highly creative and productive individual in touch with his deeper mind and practicing his own kind of magic/spiritual worship. I mean, this guy is impressive with the amount and type of stuff he creates, and if this has been most anyone else, X people would definitely assume that he was an occultist, if not possessed by demons.
Yeah, I would believe that from X.
X.
Okay, so he does create a lot
You know,
of stuff.
funny enough, if
Holy-
he's actually an occultist, we should just claim him to be an occultist and then say, look, Styx, he's more published than you are. Look, he knows more about it. He doesn't even have a bird friend. He actually made his own friends, and they're actually real, right? Like, in a lot of ways, there is an argument to be had that Christian really has a lot more in common with Crowley and people like Jack Parson, because Jack Parson, he's an example of somebody who is a sex fiend, drug addict, who his only saving grace was he was very good with explosives. Like, we're talking like maxing out explosives in his skill tree, right? But other than that, Parson was a kind of an outcast and kind of a pariah. What does Christian bring to the table besides endless entertainment, but at the same time, a sad story? It's almost like a Greek tragedy, like Oedipus Rex. Let's keep going.
Any of that stuff is highly questionable.
Oh, the quality's very shit, but he is a very creative person.
Yeah, he does like
Very creative person.
whether or not it is crayons or not. He does like to make stuff. He
And
does.
like the world he creates and stuff, they're so intricate as well. Like the backstories
I
and
don't know
stuff.
if I call it intricate.
If you no, they are intricate. If you think about like the backstories, like and stuff that he tries to
I
put
don't know.
in
If he,
here.
I don't know if he creates a lot of them though. Does he not just like?
He doesn't create anything. What he does is he does self-insert fan fiction. And then he glamorizes people. Like, he makes, like, Mary Lee Walsh, I think her name is. Mary Lee Walsh was the person who kicked him out of community college, apparently, or was fucking with him in community college. She was basically laying the foot down saying, don't be creepy around women, right? Don't be one of those guys who literally stands around with a sign saying, girlfriends wanted. Like, he has no social skills in this regard. Like, even I have, like, honestly, I look at him, I'm like, I could have become like him. Like, he's an example of somebody what not to do, right? Through the apophatic method, you could come to enlightenment through Christian, but not as a result of Christian, but just by doing what he did not do, you know? So a lot of the things that, like, again, like I said before we got kicked off of the stream, I said that, you know, if you know his life's a sad story. Let's just say that. Keep going.
And he does create some of it.
Yeah.
But like, I mean, let's go into this.
He put a chicken up his ass and marred him.
Did he actually?
He did.
When did he do that?
Did he not put a chicken?
No, it
There's
was
some video.
no, that was.
That doesn't surprise me at all. I never knew that until now.
There's so much. There's literally a lore video, like a series by Geno Samuel, in which all it is a guy going over Christian's life story. It comes off like a behind the laughter or behind the music, like VH1 documentary from like the early 90s or early 2000s. It does come off that way, and it's still going. Like, they're in the 90s at this point, or like 100 plus of his story, and a lot of it's just people's encounter with him. You know?
Right.
But skip ahead a bit. I want to get to the examples of actual magic and shit that people are proposing. There we go. Right there.
Is existing as Chris.
Just be yourself, bro.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
like he's the embodiment of just like this is me and trolls don't like me.
Yeah,
Do you know?
yeah. He's as far as I'm aware, I think it's healed. I wouldn't put it past this though. So we got the picture up for Megan, right? So Chris Chan sitting
James,
standing
this is
on the
Come
chair.
the fuck on.
What?
Look at that shit. Let's see. We got. This is actually quite interesting because you have the G, which is supposed to be. It's not Andrew. That's not a butate. It's supposed to be for geometry or capital G God, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have right behind him Emrakul, the fucking Lovecraftian, flying spaghetti monster from Magic the Gathering, who literally is based off a Lovecraftian creature. He is literally like a god of a god, and he eats and devours existences and planes of existence. So I find it very interesting. He's standing like that, basically almost like a fucking, well, like George Washington of all people, of the Masonic tables.
Mm-hmm.
Like the stuff. Like, you gotta ask yourself the question: is he self-aware of what he's doing, or does he just not care? Because I've heard the Christian reference freaking the Ashkaric records, if you know what that is. That's Edgar Casey territory. So how much of this is just him learning stuff through osmosis of people contacting him saying, hey, you're a magical indigo child. Hey, you have magical powers. And he just goes with it, Like, honestly, like, I wouldn't be surprised if there's a like that scene from Fight Club where you find out the plot twist, and like Brad Pitt's like, I look like you, or like you want to look, I fuck like you want to fuck, and I am free in all the ways you are not, and it just be Magic or Christian or Sonic Chu talking to him. It really does come off like that. Oh, I don't know, but enough of the fucking late '90s. Let's move forward.
No, and the thing is, I'm pretty sure his dad
Was Freeman? No, he was.
I think
Did he? Was he not? I'm pretty sure he
I
was.
think he might have been. I'm not sure if I remember correctly, but I'm pretty sure he might have been. There might have been something like
Mate,
that,
that's mad.
isn't it? I mean, like, there's a lot of stuff about coincidences and stuff, but sometimes it's a bit spooky. Sometimes it gets a bit spooky. But look, I'm going to show you the most weirdest bit of it all that really spooked me. I was like, you know what, we have to do a video talking about this. So, Meg, I've just sent you that link. Open it up there, and let's leave
You
about
didn't
this.
send me.
No, this is a new one.
All right, okay.
Right.
Charging.
Read it. Pause it. Read it.
Car-
Read it, because I don't want to take these guys these guys' work.
Jargon or cargo?
Cargrin.
Cargrino.
Cargrin. Yeah.
Cargrino. An evil spirit believed in by European gypsies. It was said to have the form of a hedgehog. To be yellow in color. And to be about a foot and a half in length. Hendrik von Wilsolaki stated, I am certain that this creature is none other than the equally demonic being called Harrigan. It's believed to in by the inhabitants of northwestern India. Horses were the special prey of the Karjan, who rode them into a state of exhaustion, like the Gainchubu of Chile. When horses appear to be stuck and weary, with tangled manes and bathed in sweat, they are believed to have been attacked by Chargan during the night. When this was observed, they were tethered to a stake that had been rubbed with garlic juice. Then a red thread was laid on the ground in the form of a cross, or else some of the hair of the animal was mixed with salt, meal, and the blood of a bat cooked to bread, with which the hoof of the horse was smeared. The empty vessel containing the mixture was put in the trunk of a high tree while these words were uttered: Tarry, pumpkin, in this tree, till such time as full of EB.
Right. So
Huh.
yeah. So now we're dealing with satanic hedgehog spirits, I guess.
What an interesting coincidence.
Oh, dude, there's so many quinkydinks out there. Keep going.
So this is a gypsy spirit, apparently,
Okay.
right? So you go for it and tell us all about it.
An evil spirit.
Fred, Fanta, Christian, Fanta.
I don't get it.
Remember what he used to do with Fanta?
Mix it with his thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, but what do you mean? Something red thread.
With all that stuff part of the ritual, like, oh, I don't know. I think it's pretty spooky that there's a little solitude demon out in the world that people believe in. Again, we're
Reaching.
Megan, we're reaching. We're dealing with coincidences, but like, I think it's interesting. All right, let's look at some of this other stuff. Okay.
What's mostly interesting about Chris is how much his persona was created by people fucking with him constantly for 15 plus years.
See, that's another big thing
Yeah.
with Chris. Anytime someone like does something, he believes that is real.
Yeah.
Like that's the bit that gets me. Chris has no way of discerning
Like the
between.
whole, was it like Panda and all that? He fully believed.
Yeah, like he believes this stuff. Chris has no. He can't. I don't know if he's fooled so easily or if he just can't discern fiction from reality.
Yeah. Which ramped up exponentially as time went on. If anyone here remembers Mad Thad, it was pretty much the same story. He got famous from a video of himself having a body pillow, and the whole thing went to his head to the point that he started publicly bragging about viewing cheese pizza for attention, and eventually went to prison for it. It was people from B that got him into it in first. In the era before the internet, both of them would probably have just been weirdo Boo Radleys at worst. And just imagine what all the Boo Radleys in the past would have come up with internet access.
Yeah, that's true. Do you remember that guy, the French guy that would eat anything? You heard that story? And he would eat like the cats and stuff and metal and God knows what else.
No.
Well, there was this guy in like the 1800s. He was
Could you
like,
imagine if he was on like a top?
oh my God, yeah.
Like, could you imagine?
Yeah. Like, you need to wonder what.
Well, one of the things you have to understand about Chris Chan is that his perception of reality is so warped and basically altered that if I were to like point, let's say, a gun, like an actual physical gun, at and say I'm holding the future president hostage, he would believe it. This is the type of person you're dealing with. His perception of what reality is. You could literally do the whole stick up from what was it? Blazing Saddles, where you stick yourself up, and he's like, "Oh my God, this guy might actually do it." You need to do what he says. That would work on Chris Chan. Like you could endlessly, you could fuck with this guy to the end of time, and I wouldn't be surprised if he has magical thinking now. I mean, Brother John won't even talk to me anymore because of all the crap I've been through. But imagine, like, I actually think that no one can help Chris Chan. Only Christ can help this Chris Chan. But he claims to be Christ, so I guess he has to help himself now. Mm-hmm. Let's keep moving. Let's keep moving through the video because I want to get to the clips they're going through.
What would like medieval peasants be getting up to on TikTok?
I know.
Like
somebody else said, "What's odd?"
Okay,
what's
behind times?
Probably.
What's odd about Chris Chan? Oh, go back. Go back. There we go.
Order DoorDash and sit at home watching Netflix. Most people aren't doing a lot of real life socializing anymore. Hitting the bars and clubs and all that. Fad. It was pretty much the same story. He got famous from a video of himself having a body pillow, and the whole thing went to his head to the point that he started publicly bragging about viewing cheese pizza for attention, and eventually went to prison for it. It was people from B that got him into it in first. In the era before the internet, both of them would probably have just been weirdo Boo Radleys at worst. And just imagine what all the Boo Radleys in the past would have come up with internet access.
Yeah, that's
imagine what Crowley would come up with if he had access to the internet. That motherfucker would. I think he would probably realize like the internet has really been the great uniter of a lot of humanity. I mean, furries are a thing now, right? I mean, they had a cult of Gadget the Mouse, which I'd love to see how Chris Chan responds to that. That would be fucking amazing to see Chris Chan realize that Gadget the Mouse had her own cult in Russia, of all places. Keep moving.
Ahead. Heard that story? And he would eat like the cats and stuff and metal and God knows what else.
No.
Well, there was this guy in like the 1800s.
Could you imagine if he was on like a top?
Oh my God, yeah.
Like, could you imagine?
Yeah. Like, you need to wonder what one thing I would love is what would like medieval peasants be getting up to on TikTok?
I know.
Like,
somebody else said, what's odd about Chris Chan is if you really think about it, mid-2000s Chris Chan was actually almost normal by today's standard. He was a loser because he went online, collected toys, and went to a board game shop. What do people do today though? Stay online, buy Funko Pops, then Squishmallows, order DoorDash, and sit at home watching Netflix. Most people aren't doing a lot of real life socializing anymore, hitting the bars and clubs and all that. However, board game shops a la Chris's have absolutely exploded in popularity in the past decade or so. He was a loser in the early 2000s, but now about 20 to 30% of people live like he did back then.
No, people do not live like Chris Chan
no,
this day.
They don't.
Chris Chan stumbled into darkness. Chris Chan stumbled into darkness. He was created by it. Yes, he did. He was molded by it. He didn't see the light until he's already a man. Till then, it was nothing to him but blinding. Yeah. The shadows betray us because they belong to him. Let's keep going.
Chris, yeah, again, is that I look, this is another thing, manifestations of demonic cleanliness is next to godliness.
Mm-hmm.
Chris lives in a hoarder's house. I honestly don't believe you can be
Is
happy.
he allowed to go back to the house though? Because I heard Barb was in like an assisted living.
Yeah, well, unless
No.
the place has been empty then. But I thought...
But is he? No, that house would have been condemned.
Yeah.
After they went in and done a home check on Barb, that house would have
fucking-
been condemned.
You would like to think.
That house would have been condemned. That house would have caught fire. Let's keep going into deeper stuff. Here we go. There we go. Like, yeah.
Weird doll things in the astral projection he was doing with Sockness. Do you remember that? There was like they were trying to like commune with each other.
Oh yes.
Yeah, remember that? That
Yeah.
was really weird. I don't really know that much about the Jack Sockness saga though. Sorry guys, I'm honestly I'm so far behind. But like, let's go up to the top here, will we? Magical thinking.
Magical thinking is the belief that one's own thoughts and rituals can influence reality. The behaviour is common with young children in the egocentric stage of development until they age out of it after developing cognitive thinking. Chris, on the other hand, maintained a habit of magical thinking well into adult. So magical thinking, I'm going to guess, is the imagination stage.
Yeah, it would be like imagining that you have like I don't know, it's like a weird form of play. I would argue.
Yeah.
So examples: curses. Well, we all know
The Kamehameha. Yeah. While Chris has used the curse ye Kamehameha in reality, he never took it too seriously. At least until he used it on a liquid.
No, Chris was definitely using
it.
He
was using it seriously, 100%.
He
Look how into that he was whenever he put it to the camera. Like,
see, whenever he did it to Mary Lee Walsh,
yeah,
he definitely meant it.
With the kidnapping,
So we got curses,
he
Luke.
then realized that he
Move forward a bit with the examples. Just gonna end it right around here.
2018, he would begin to obsess over magical
pebbles.
Yeah,
so he's got all them like all them lock pendants and like bracelets and stuff.
With purported healing properties due to interference from the idea guys. From mid-2019, Chris would start to believe that he was being possessed by Magichan, and as of such could perform many of Magichan's magical powers, with one such ability of his being the ability to heal others. He would use his healing touch on Barb and demonstrate his ability on Art M, a gamer from Mars. The gamer from Mars in December of that year.
That's that guy that looks like Zuckerberg, isn't it?
Oh.
Yeah, the ginger fellow.
Chris, obsessed with healing, seemed to grow more and more over the years, to the point where he believed he could use his healing abilities regardless of whether he was possessed or not, no doubt contributing to his messiah complex.
100%.
100%. He thinks he's like some sort of
yeah, he is the chosen one after all.
In 2020, Chris, whilst role-playing as Sonichu, claimed that praying to Chris would cure others of illness and disease. And in 2021, Chris frequently mentioned the phrase self-healing, either as a prayer to describe his own mental state. Whilst the term self-healing is never properly defined by Chris, it's likely meant to just be emotional recovery with a superstitious tin. Unfortunately, due to recent events, the terms have adopted a more sinister meaning. Voodooism.
So he does.
Voodooism.
Where he actually would like make effigies of people he hates, and then like he would like pin the tail on the fucking prick, right?
See, spirit realm.
The world of Quickville is also a spirit realm where Chris is almighty and can create and shape it as he pleases due to his power of creativity. It exists outside, but parallel to the real world, and sometimes Chris seems to honestly believe that it's a real place, even if it's just.
It's the pleroma, my friends.
It's the pleroma. It's the platonic realm of ideas. Like that's kind of what it is in a lot of ways. Sorcery. Let's get with the sorcery.
Atypical illusion that he has magical powers that will permit him to eventually succeed over the enemies that he is unable to dispatch by any more conventional means. Chris's sorcery was among his more egregious behaviours that were not merely atypical of a Christian, but in fact explicitly prescribed by his faith. This verse lists witchcraft as one of the more blatant acts of sin, and Exodus commands thou shalt not suffer a witch to live. That's right, there's a biblical mandate for Chris's death. Alec Benson Leary, in one of his phone calls with Chris, attempted to point out the thoroughly unchristian nature of Chris's dabbling in black magic, but this reasoning appeared to have little effect. Of course, his magical practices have only become even more blatant since proclaiming himself a CPU goddess, including threatening trolls on social media with supernatural
Oh boy.
He's a child pornography goddess?
CPU or CPU god, like a computer goddess?
No, CP like in child pornography. I assume.
CPU.
CPU goddess. I guess. The
dimensional merge.
The idea guys created a concept and brainwashed Chris into believing it, and he has since made it a major part of his day-to-day life. Chris actually believes he is a goddess who has the ability to merge this dimension with alternate dimensions home to every fictional character created, including his very own Sonichu. For Chris, getting to see Sonichu in real life is probably enough to warrant a fantasy of caliber, though this motivation for the merge is deeply rooted in personal and very real failures. From his financial woes to his lack of significant other, Chris plans for the dimensional merge to fix his life. Not only will all Chris's funds from Quickville be transferred to him, his polyamorous marriage to 4 Pokemon will be official. If Chris has
Oh Jesus Christ! He's what Pokemon is he fucking married to?
I don't know. Even I don't care to find out.
I honestly, dude, like I don't know.
Necromancy.
Oh
Well, he
boy.
can, to an extent, talk to the deceased. He told Sarah May that when he touched his dead Aunt Corinna's hand, he could hear her spirit, along with the spirits of his grandparents and great-grandparents. He also claims that God Jesus told him to make the trip to go to Julie. Additionally, Chris believes that he can harness the spirits of the dead to do his bidding, notably when he threatened Megan with revenge by him and his father's ghost, and when he warned Alec Benson Leary that his dead dog would have his soul for dinner and haunt his nightmares. During this time, masquerading as Jenkins Jenkies on Trolling Train, Chris hoped to dissuade trolls by claiming that his house was haunted. Describing an alleged encounter with a vengeful ghost of Paddy and his younger self, Chris apparently believed that trolls would need this threat.
You know what would actually, okay.
On the 22nd of March 2021, he discussed with an unknown Watchmen member about fantasizing talking with the ghost of Charlie Haw, a teenage girl who was murdered on B.
So, unironically, so a lot of you guys have been doing a seen the Insidious 2.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, like, the Black Bride?
Yes.
Chris could be in an Insidious movie.
Oh yeah.
Easily.
Easily.
Yeah. Right, let's go on down to psychological analysis, will we? And then that'll be us.
Psychological analysis. When asked by a fan how he came to learn of his powers, Chris replied they were evidenced by Mary Walsh's reputation going down. I've learned about the curses actually working firstly when I cursed the real life Mary Walsh. Then I later heard that her reputation at PVCC went down. Yes, mostly due to my references in the pages. But then things got worse for her. And even though I forgave her for her misdeed on interrupting my sweetheart search, I feel she definitely got what she deserved for her misdeed. Later, I cursed one specific troll. I forgot who. Shortly later, I learned that troll came down with a life-threatening ailment.
Are you sure that's true?
This is textbook magical think. This gives Chris a belief of some degree of power over his own life, no matter how illusionary. This use of fantasy is considered by the psychological community to be an immature defense mechanism.
I do think it's a defense mechanism.
Oh yeah.
Oof.
What do you think, Luke?
He's off his rocker.
He's fucking crazier than he's a loon. I mean, that's the ultimate. He's Psycho Mantis. In a lot of ways, this is just a cope. Like, if I have enemies out there right now, or not even enemies, people I don't like, and if, let's say, all of a sudden there's a storm and, lightning were to strike and burn their house down, that's happily coincidence. That's a coincidence or even a miracle. I would call it a miracle. I wouldn't call it, a curse. I would say it's a miracle just because of how miraculous it was. But at the same time, I don't think it was my deeds or my interaction or my prayer that did it. That's the difference between, I guess, the Christian and the pagan. Is the pagan thinks his life is in his own control, and in reality, it's not. Anyhow, I'm sorry about the whole. I'm sorry about the whole having to redo the stream, so to speak. Thank you, DZ, for sticking around. Hopefully this will be up also, and maybe I won't get hit with a copyright strike simply because I decide to, upload another freaking another video and breaking my schedule, so to speak. So, anyhow, Luke, any final thoughts?
I have a couple right here.
Cool.
And lastly,
and the brave new world begins, when all men are paid for existing, and no man must pay for his sins. As surely as water will wet us, as surely as fire will burn, the gods of the copybook headings, with terror and slaughter, return.
He needs to just write a book. Like, what we need to do is these people need to go to academia because that's where we're going to quarantine them, whether it be Christians or fucking distributists, in the plural. Anyhow, ladies and gentlemen, be good to one another, take care of one another. Remember, saving the West is a side quest.